I'm a Raven. It's on all year.
So Ravens flock, the Pittsburgh Steelers have had a very busy offseason. Now, will this offseason stop their inevitable journey to being 9-8? I don't know. Will they be an actual threat? I doubt it, but time will tell. But they've obviously made some very interesting moves.
And this city's always had a thing for defense with an edge. Now there's a new name stepping into the black and gold.
That I do believe part of that is a response to some of the other AFC North teams, specifically the Ravens, and the moves we've been making. So earlier today, the Steelers traded with the Miami Dolphins to acquire Jalen Ramsey. They gave up Minkah Fitzpatrick in exchange for Jalen Ramsey. And then also they made another trade where they gave up a late round pick in exchange for Jonnu Smith. I don't know what round that pick's going to be in. If it's a late round pick, obviously I'm assuming it's day 2, day 3, obviously. But either way, will this be looked at as a bad trades in the next few months? I mean, we'll see. I definitely think the Jonnu Smith trade was a bad trade, and that's just my personal opinion. Jonnu Smith is a decent tight end, but outside of last year, like last year was an anomaly. He has been I don't want to disrespect him obviously, but he's been a underwhelming tight end for most of his career up until this point. He had one breakout year, and you trade for him and give him a $12 million extension. I don't think that's a good idea, especially when you have Pat Freiermuth and what's the other dude name who's built like a lineman? I think his name was Broderick Washington or whatever. But hey, clearly they see a lot of value in him. As far as Jalen Ramsey, I do think that's the more interesting pick. Many Ravens fans, like myself and others, talked about the possibility of the Ravens looking to trade for Jalen Ramsey. I knew that it was pretty much a long shot because the Ravens were not going to be interested in putting up the money necessary for Jalen Ramsey's contract. And you see that the Ravens obviously were not interested because they went for a better option or a younger option in Jair Alexander. Even though I do think Jalen at his prime was better than almost any cornerback in the league right now, Jalen is not in his prime anymore. He's still a very good player, but for that type of money, I could see why the Ravens chose to try to get a very team-friendly deal with Jair, especially because Jair has the relationship with Lamar. And on top of that, Jair, unfortunately, he dealt with some injuries. So that allowed for the Ravens to get that cheap deal that they wanted. Will this trade affect us as a team? I don't think it will, to be honest with you. Well, it might, but what's so interesting about the Steelers' moves this offseason is because you do have some decisions that seem interesting, like they're trying to go all in. But then on the flip side, you got some other decisions that it just seems like they kind of took 2 steps back and kind of found themselves right back in a similar spot. Like they traded for DK Metcalf, but then on the flip side, you traded away George Pickens, who in my opinion is better, and he's younger than DK. So it's like, how much did you really gain out of that? Then on top of that, you trade for Jalen Ramsey, but you did give up Minkah Fitzpatrick. Now, Minkah, you could argue Minkah may be on the decline because his last 2 years in Pittsburgh, he was somebody who got a lot of penalties, who also got banged up, didn't look like how he looked in his prime. But we'll see if that was truly the end of his prime or if it was just like him having a bad 1.5-year stretch. If this was previous years, I do think this would be kind of devastating news, right? Like Jalen Ramsey on one side and then Darius Slay on the other side. But in 2025, I don't think we should be as worried about this. Of course, Jalen, I still think, has a decent amount left in him. In the case of Darius Slay, I don't think he has a whole lot left in him, to be honest with you. Especially to handle what we have at this point. We're not going to be going into a year where we as a fan base feel content with our wide receiving core. And then on top of that, we also still have a lot of firepower when it comes to our tight end room. Then on top of that, we have competent or better than competent, great pass catching running backs like Justice Hill, Keaton Mitchell, and even Derrick Henry. Obviously, when he gets some targets, he can make some noise. So ultimately, these moves the Steelers are making, even though they're very interesting, I don't think they're truly going to allow them to move the needle in the division. I'm still predicting them to kind of finish third and maybe even finish fourth, depending on what happens with Cleveland. But I think we still have to worry about the Bengals, really. Despite them having a garbage defense, they still have a lot of firepower on offense. And if they get off to a fast start this year, they still would be a much bigger threat than Pittsburgh. But that's just my opinion. Let me know, do you think that this Jalen Ramsey trade puts Pittsburgh in a spot where they are more of a threat than ever? Or do you think that they're kind of still in the same spot where they're inevitably going to be going 9-8?